Good afternoon, everyone. Mike and Steve here. We're doing a
Yeah.
show together. It's like old times, like the first 100 shows we did. So
Right.
today's topics, Newsmax. I don't know if you've seen this channel. I've seen it before, but if you've seen this stock and you've been one of those people that's called in, texted in, and is like, wow, this thing's going up hundreds of percent a day. Steve's going to break that down and why that may not be what you think it is. And then other exciting news, we're going to talk about updates on our bracket as far as the NCAA basketball, because we're down to the Final Four. We'll look at who's still in contention there. And then we'll hit our stock brackets, and we have our Sweet 16, and I'll talk about that. And then just briefly, I'll cover our tariff update, but really tariffs we'll talk about more tomorrow. So as we get started, this is the financial education presentation. You must do your own due diligence on anything that you hear in this presentation. More disclaimer information can be found on ankerstarwealth.com, and the opinions expressed are mine and Steve's alone. So Steve, take it away.
Hey, everybody. Thanks again for checking us out. And not only is it, a new quarter, it appears to be Casual Tuesday, because I just noticed both Mike and I are rocking hoodies during the work week. So certainly office day as we did quarterly closeout for me on this end. And if you haven't seen the new Speakeasy, I hosted a meeting here today with a group that I need to talk to you about because I really like their product. But anyhow, they took a big video of us and posted on LinkedIn, so got a lot of good press today as well. All right, but we got to talk about the craziness that's going on in Newsmax. I'm going to share out my screen here real quick, but I'd be remiss if I didn't really show the breaking news of the moment. Nick Saban coming back as the Alabama coach. DeBoer's out of there. There's still work yet to be done. There's your April Fools of the day. All right. So look, right.
I was like,
like, really? We wish, right? All right. Newsmax is kind of an April Fool's story in itself. So, in this profession as advising, you own your wins, you own your losses. And I had at least four that I remember, maybe more clients that obviously are a little further on the conservative side of the spectrum, if you will. That was like, Steve, we need to invest in Newsmax. Can you get it on the IPO? And I said no, because Schwab doesn't do IPO, so you have to IPO somewhere else and then transfer your shares to Schwab. That's the mechanism. But the issue with that, and then they're like, is it something I should invest in? And I'm like, well, I kind of put it in a category with like DJT and some of these other things out there that if you want to own a piece of it because you are such a big fan, do so. But let's keep the amount small because I don't really see a long-term future. And then, as history would have it, we play out this thing IPOs yesterday at $10 a share. It shot up, it just keeps shooting up, right? So it shot up. Yesterday, where did it close at? 130 something.
Like 80 yesterday, and then up another $150 today.
Yeah, 80 yesterday, which was 700 and some percent, or maybe 8, whatever the math works out to. It just keeps going up, 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 up. So it's just like, okay, is this going to 1,000? Well, there's more to this story. So I do have, of the people I advise to not invest in it, of course, I have one that does. Good for them. And we've been in talks yesterday and today. Obviously, when you get the IPO shares through a registry, in this case it's DRS, but maybe you've heard of ComputerShare or CompuShare. I think it's CompuShare, where you can kind of hold stock, but it's not at your custodian, right? So they were issued the shares to there, and then I went to transfer the shares into Schwab because the registry is like, we can't sell them. We can only transfer them to a custodian, and the custodian will sell them. So my clients were in a situation where they couldn't sell yesterday. And then this morning they were happy about it because they're like, well, okay, I'll take another 1,000%. But anyhow, it just keeps going up. And then they couldn't sell all day today. We put the paperwork in, and Schwab said, okay, well, we've talked to the custodian. It'll be 3 weeks before they can sell. So to peel this back a little bit more, their statement came with a restriction on it. It's called a 1933 restriction, meaning that the S1 form, which you're supposed to have complete and done before you can even IPO, it's got a restriction on there saying that hasn't been done yet. I don't know what the truth is behind the scenes, but I do know my one of one data point is that if my clients wanted to sell and take any of this profit, they cannot. And if you get in a situation, if their experiences, when you have the big players on an IPO, they're locked up for either 90 or 180 days, depending on how many shares they bought, right? So the folks who own the large amount of shares can't sell. And the retail folks, which is usually what bounces the price around during an IPO initially for the first 3 months, right? They're the only ones that can move in and out of the stock. They can't sell. When you ever have an IPO, there's always a pool of shares that's held back by the issuing or by whoever's the investment bank that's running that those shares. So they're the ones flooding, putting shares out there on the market for people to buy. So you can buy this thing, but I don't know of anybody out there that can sell it, which is, if you have anything that you can only buy and not sell, the stock's going to go up. So I think, this thing is kind of prime for maybe getting investigated and or an HBO special on it, kind of like GameStop and some of the other things that are out there. I don't know. I'm not throwing the red flag, but I'm throwing a yellow flag at it for sure, because I don't understand, why it just goes up. And the people that when you do an IPO, it's critical you price it correctly, right? It's kind of like if you're selling your house. If you go, Mike, if you were to list your house and you list it for 30,000 and somebody snaps it up like the second you list it, then you always have to look in the mirror and go, what could I have sold it for? Well, in this case, it's like you sold it for 30 and they turned around and flipped it for 400,000. And you're like, so if the price we're seeing right now is like the true value of as Mike pointed out earlier while we were talking, a $30 billion company. I don't really think it's a $30 billion company, but that's me. If this is accurate, then the people who did the IPO should obviously left a ton of money on the table, right? Because they sold it to the big players at 10, and it's just like, they could have raised so much more money, right? Or this is just a faux price, if you will, and it's going to come crashing down to, markets are good at figuring out market value. And if the market value is around $10, there's a pretty big house of pain awaiting all these people that said, I have to have it at this price when it goes back to $10. Will it go to 10? Probably not. I mean, like GameStop never actually went down to $1, but it did crash like 90+%. When you look at trying to get into the forensics, clearly that page isn't what I was looking for. FinViz is what we use, or I should say it's only traded for 2 days. You get down into the metrics. So the question came up earlier is how many people are shorting this? If you can't sell it, you can't short, right? Because shorting is borrowing and selling. So I don't think anybody's shorting it. Options aren't out on it, because it's too new. So, I mean, there's really nothing here that just the investment bank selling direct to people that think 233 or now 278 is a good price, right? I mean, we moved up 20% after market and the market's only been closed 33 minutes. So, do what you want, right? Do your own due diligence. If you think I'm wrong, then buy it hand over fist. But I would say if you respect my opinion at all, please don't touch this. Otherwise, you may have a significant story to tell once everything catches up with it. So again, no crystal ball here, but I really think that Newsmax is due for a pretty significant crash once everybody's able to operate in the free market. So that's all I've got. Mike, any opinions you want to hop in with there?
Just fascinating. And I know I've talked to friends in the past, certainly during the .com bust, that had statements sitting in their apartment showing they were worth $1 million, but they couldn't sell because they were locked up. And one of my friends, he said it was great. I was sitting in my apartment, hanging out, saying I'm worth $1 million. Never got a chance. The whole thing crashed before I ever could sell. And that may be the situation we're dealing with here.
Yes, make sure you sell before you buy your new Corvette or whatever it is. So don't spend the money yet.
That's right. All right. Well, let me take it over to our update on the NCAA brackets. So if you remember last time we had this, Trisha was rolling. Well, Tennessee went down and she's out. Christina was up there. Michigan went down and she's out. So now who has risen from this? Joey has taken over the lead and he has Florida. So if you think we're only down to 4 teams, we got to look at who those are. So if Florida wins, you got to think Joey or Marty have a good chance. I'm not sure. I didn't look at all the details. If Auburn wins, we got Billy, Joel, and hey, myself, I passed my wife in the brackets. And then if Houston wins, oh my gosh, he comes out of the basement. Look who has
What?
Houston.
Not that far in the
Steve
basement.
Steve is up there and Russ is way back. So if Houston wins, we could see Steve, pull it out. And then lastly is Duke. We have to scroll all the way down. CB, I'm not sure who that is, could surge up. So we will have those updates. The game's Saturday and then Monday night. So we'll probably do Saturday. Our next Monday, I'll say, here's our final two, most likely. So yeah, that's basketball. Let's get to the real stuff, which is stocks. Right. So I know you all been waiting for our Sweet 16 on our stock challenge. Nextera Energy, who nobody took, is there. United Health, who nobody took. And then look, we have Progressive Insurance. Jackie took them. And Coca-Cola, David and Scott. This bracket was the Steve Jobs division, but Apple didn't even get out of the first round. So in the Bill Gates division, Microsoft did not get out of the first round. We got Philip Morris in the Sweet 16. MasterCard, Cindy and Jaden. Home Depot with Sean, Mark B, Marty, and Scott. And, Corey takes Berkshire Hathaway. There's a shocker, right? That's a Corey pick all the way. In the Jensen Huang division, NVIDIA did not escape the first round. This was a personal matchup as I have McDonald's, who knocked off my wife's company. So I got a Sweet 16 here. Costco, Cindy, Kelly, Joel. I'm surprised that Corey didn't pick that one. I don't know who he picked in this bracket. And then we got Walmart. So here's a big one. Walmart, number 3 seed. A whole bunch of people. David, my daughter Nikita, Jaden, Marty, Candace, Kelly, Scott. And then the 15 seed, Booking Holdings. Nobody has them. And then look at this. In the bottom, in the Jeff Bezos division, we actually have a number 1 seed advancing. Amazon moving right through the brackets, whole bunch of names. Their next match is against Visa. So Jaden, Jackie, and Scott. We got Procter and Gamble, Hal and Richard, and then Steve Ankerstar. Salesforce, the only one that has them. So just a reminder, the way this works is you have to get to the Final Four before you start accruing points, but soon enough we'll know what the lead is. We'll look at it over the next 2 days, and I'll have the Final Four for us. And then the last thing I will close with is I will hop back over here and just talk about a brief thing on tariffs. You're probably sick of us talking about it, and believe me, we're sick of hearing about it too. But we continue to hear about it. It continues to shake the markets. I just pulled this article from Wall Street Journal and saw that Goldman Sachs had raised the chance of a recession to 35% from previously 20. The other piece of news that I've heard, and we'll see it here announced tomorrow, is it may be a 20% across the board set of tariffs, but then people are feeling better that we've heard some, hey, we're going to be flexible, we're going to be lenient, we're going to be reciprocal. I don't know if that's a good news or not, but anyways, this unknown volatility is kind of what's causing the market to jump all over the place. At some point, hopefully, we get to a solid tariff plan. I can't imagine it's going to be fully dropped at any point, but at least the rules are set, and then all the companies can adjust. The biggest problem this has on companies is if I'm a General Motors and I'm looking to bring cars over from our Canada assembly plant, do I want to pay 25% today when I think maybe next week it won't be 25%? These are the kind of decision companies have to make, which can mess up the supply chain. They're going to be like, I don't want to pay that extra tax right now. I may wait and get a better deal. All of that, just think of that problem replicated 1,000 times, and that's what we're going to deal with while tariffs are still uncertain. So I know it's expected Trump's going to be releasing, I can't remember what he called it. Well, tomorrow's called Liberation Day. I'm not sure what we're liberating from, but it's Liberation Day, and I think he's making the announcement at 4 o'clock, and I think it was "Make America Wealthy Again" is what I heard. So, anyways, I mean, that's him saying it, not me. Um, anyways, what do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think we're going to see the rip the Band-Aid moment off tomorrow. And, the way a lot of people think about markets is, the worst comes and you think the market's going to sell off after that. I'm more along the lines of this is like the worst it's going to get. So we now finally have all the information we need as capital allocators to go, okay, who are the winners and losers, and then quickly put all the money that we've been selling to cash. Cash is our number one holding, back to work in certain pockets that could either benefit or are stand to really bounce from this. So I would not be surprised if tomorrow was in the red until the big Band-Aid got ripped off, and then we're back off to the races. So that's how I think it'll play out. And I don't know anything, but I think that Trump would like to, kind of get the worst news out there, and then so we can start that process of kind of healing the market. So he can look good, right? That was obviously a theme during his first term. I showed yesterday with Corey that chart of how his current term's going versus last time, and I think he's ready to get those charts a little more aligned. So we shall see, but it's going to be a big day in the markets for sure.
All right. Thanks everybody for hopping on. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one.